I want to lead the newsroom tonight with an exclusive interview done by the India Today group with Home Minister Rajnath Singh. Here, the Home Minister for the first time speaks at length about India's response on Kulbhushan Jadhav. We've heard brief, terse statements in Parliament, but what's the thinking in the government? What will India do next, given this deliberate provocation by Islamabad? Here it is, the Home Minister in conversation with my colleague Anjana Kashyap.
जिस हद तक जाने की जरूरत होगी उस हद तक जाएंगे, लेकिन कुलभूषण जाधव को हम बचाएंगे। कुलभूषण जाधव इंडियन नेवी के एक रिटायर्ड अफसर थे। ईरान के चाबहार में वह एक छोटे बिजनेसमैन थे। बराबर उनका चाबहार से तेहरान, तेहरान से चाबहार आना जाना होता था। उसी बीच पाकिस्तान की सिक्योरिटी एजेंसीज ने उनको किडनैप कर लिया और किडनैप करने के बाद पाकिस्तान की अथॉरिटीज ने जो प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस की है, उस प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस में यह कहा है कि कुलभूषण जाधव के पास वैलिड इंडियन पासपोर्ट है। तो मैं समझता हूं कि यदि कुलभूषण जाधव यदि स्पाई रहे होते, जासूस रहे होते, तो कम से कम अपने पास वैलिड इंडियन पासपोर्ट वह न रखते। लेकिन फिर भी उनके साथ वहां की आर्मी कोर्ट ने जो कुछ भी किया है, उन्हें लाइफ सेंटेंस अवार्ड किया है। इस पाकिस्तान के अप्रोच को भारत की सरकार, पूरा भारत इसे कंडेम करता है और जहां भी जरूरत होगी, और मैं मानता हूं कि जो कुछ भी हुआ है यह एक प्रकार का प्री प्लान्ड मर्डर, इसे मैं मानता हूं, करने की कोशिश की जा रही है। लेकिन किसी हद तक जाएंगे, लेकिन हम लोग कुलभूषण जाधव को बचाएंगे।
सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक भी हमने किया, पाकिस्तान का इलाज क्या है आपकी नजर में?
यह तो वक्त बतलाएगा कि पाकिस्तान का क्या इलाज है। वैसे सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक जब हुई थी तो एक संकेत तो हम लोगों ने दे ही दिया था कि भारत केवल भारत के अंदर ही नहीं, भारत के बाहर जाकर भी लोगों को मार सकता है, अपने दुश्मनों को, आतंकवादियों को। यह मैसेज हम लोगों ने उस समय दे दिया।
सबक नहीं सीखा पाकिस्तान ने, उसकी फितरत नहीं बदलती, वो आज भी आंखें तरेर रहा है जाधव के जरिए।
वैसे किसी का स्वभाव, उसकी आदत बदलने में कुछ समय लगता है।
विकल्प क्या अपना सकते हैं सर हम? क्या हम अंतर्राष्ट्रीय दबाव डालेंगे? क्योंकि अगर वहां की आर्मी कोर्ट ने कोई फैसला दे दिया है तो उसके खिलाफ कोई अपील में सुप्रीम कोर्ट भी नहीं जा सकता। विकल्प क्या है एक देश के रूप में?
वैसे वियना कन्वेंशन है, वियना कन्वेंशन के भी यह खिलाफ है। इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर भी इस इशू को रेस करने की जरूरत महसूस हुई तो हम इंटरनेशनल फोरम पर भी इस इशू को उठाएंगे।
13 बार काउंसिलर एक्सेस हासिल करने की कोशिश की गई थी कि जाधव से संपर्क हो सके और वो काउंसिलर एक्सेस हमें दे, लेकिन पाकिस्तान नकारता रहा। नियत पर शक पहले से थी, तो क्या इसको बेटर हैंडल किया जा सकता था?
मैं मानता हूं कि काउंसलर एक्सेस तो मिलना चाहिए था। इंडियन हाई कमीशन ने कई बार काउंसलर एक्सेस की बात की, लेकिन उसके बावजूद काउंसलर एक्सेस की इजाजत हमारी इंडियन हाई कमीशन को नहीं मिली। ऐसा नहीं होता है।
These are very, very strong words from the Home Minister. We will not let Kulbhushan Jadhav die. We will do what it takes to ensure Kulbhushan Jadhav is brought back safely. India, meanwhile, is rallying to Kulbhushan's defense. Across the country, people coming out and saying that we cannot let Kulbhushan Jadhav die. In Parliament too, Sushma Swaraj, the External Affairs Minister, made a very, very strong intervention, brief but firm, telling Pakistan to understand the consequences of acting against Kulbhushan Jadhav.
All the protesters are being taken away from Pakistan High Commission to the local police station.
But Pakistan is unrelenting, playing dumb on its spy sham while underlaying a real threat.
Pakistan Armed Forces are fully capable and prepared to respond to any spectrum of threat.
As politics brews in the national capital, Jadhav's family has been forced to go into hiding.
The entire family, Kulbhushan's father, mother, wife, one daughter and one son is staying in this particular building on the 5th floor. 502 is a flat number and B wing. But today, the family is missing. The family has gone to unknown location just to stay away from media and press glare.
As Pakistan begins a dangerous spy abduction game, daring India again and again, Jadhav's death penalty becomes a crucial reminder of Sarabjit Singh, a Pakistan-sponsored murder that India has not forgiven.
इनसे उम्मीद हम यही कर सकते थे कि एक भारतीय को जब वे पकड़ते हैं तो वे रॉ एजेंट का पहले आरोप लगाते हैं, फिर उस पर केस झूठे चलाते हैं, उसके बाद ये उसको भारतीय होने की सजा देते हैं, न कि रॉ एजेंट होने की सजा देते हैं.
Sarabjit Singh, Kulbhushan Jadhav, how many Indian lives will Pakistan cruel games snatch? As India prepares an offensive, Pakistan is only embarrassing itself globally time and again. With Viren in Mumbai, Asutosh in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
The Home Minister in this big interview to India Today saying the government committed to doing what it can to bring back Kulbhushan Jadhav. But what are India's options? Should India cut diplomatic ties with Pakistan? Is this a deliberate act of provocation? And if the Pakistan civilian government said there is no evidence, how did a military court find him guilty and sentence Kulbhushan Jadhav? Joining us on the newsroom, I want to begin by introducing Nalin Kohli, national spokesperson of the BJP. Squaring off against him, Ajay Kumar, spokesperson of the Congress. Sushant Sareen is a leading strategic affairs expert, and Jaydev Ranade is with us as well. I want to go across first and foremost to Nalin Kohli. You just heard Rajnath Singh speaking to India Today saying, we will get Kulbhushan Jadhav back. Is that just an assurance to the family, something to assuage tempers because people are angry, they're upset? Or is that something you believe the government is committed to following through? Is there an action plan? How does the Modi government, Nalin, intend to bring Kulbhushan Jadhav back?
Three, four parts to it. That we know it's a kangaroo court approach. That's clear. The Vienna Convention has not been followed. Pakistan is a signatory to it. Consular access was denied consecutively, persistently, despite India seeking it repeatedly. Additionally, the way the trial was done, there are contradictions about it, because no less than Sartaj Aziz said as recently as December 2016 that there is no evidence except statements, then a secret trial, and then the sentence. Obviously, there's going to be outrage, and obviously it raises serious questions, and the government has gone as far as saying it would be treated as premeditated murder if it's taken to its logical end in the illogical manner in which the trial was conducted. It's not just Rajnath ji who's speaking as a representative of the government. The Home Minister, Sushma ji as the Foreign Affairs Minister, has also spoken. Parliament has spoken in one voice. So it means that basically the government is going to look at whatever it can do to see that we can get back Kulbhushan. At the same time, from another perspective, whatever that is, that realm of what decisions they will take, how they will do it, in what manner they want to do it, what they want to use in their arsenal in terms of diplomatic, in terms of building that pressure, whatever, that is the government's prerogative. You, me or anyone else can't comment on it. We can talk about it on television, but we certainly are not going to know the detail, and I would wish we don't even know it, because that should be left to the government to do so. But once it has been said so in Parliament, it's a serious statement. It can't be taken lightly. And that's how we should treat it.
Message going, Shafqat Saeed, loud and clear to Pakistan. The last time there was a deliberate provocation, Uri was attacked, there was the surgical strike. The message going out from the Modi government today is, this is no less than premeditated murder. This is a deliberate provocation. Shafqat Saeed, the government of Nawaz Sharif and your army chief must know there will be a response at a time and place of our choosing. Make no mistake about that.
I know your response because we kept searching, we couldn't find, and nobody from your DG military operation and your chief and your Prime Minister, Defense Minister, nobody disclosed us the GPS coordinates where you carried out that surgical strike, and I am sure, let me tell you, that did not cross the line of control or international border. It did occur on your own site. We kept searching. Our foreign media kept searching. We couldn't find a trace of it. And if you want to do something like that, well, we are not pushed. And as far as this Kulbhushan Singh Jadhav is concerned, let me tell you, he traveled to Iran and he was issued visa on a passport, which I have the exact number also. It was L96.
That thought and spare your breath, because I'll ask you this question, Shafkat Saeed. You come from a background where you claim you understand military matters. Anybody who's an actual spy, if he were in Pakistan, would he be carrying an Indian passport with him? Is this how spy games are played?
Another name. Yes, an Indian passport with a different name on the cover.
Yeah, but an Indian passport nonetheless. You know what's very clear, Sushant Sareen, from Shafkat Saeed's statement. Whether it's the, we saw Nawaz Sharif today say, Pakistan is ready for any military response. We will not sit back. Has the message gone that Nalin Kohli is being very guarded, saying, yes, Parliament has said there will be a response, there will be one. He's not elaborating what that could be. If India were to do the equivalent of what we did during surgical strikes, and I don't mean the army crossing the LOC, but whatever an equivalent may be that sends out a strong message, what are the options? Take us through what's on the table. Sushant sir.
Look, the options, I'm sure you have Mr. Ranade sitting with you, and he would be in a better position to explain all the options. But to my mind, it is very clear, one thing is very clear. When you deal with Pakistan, especially in cases like this, to depend upon normal diplomacy or to depend upon standard diplomatic practices to try and resolve this kind of an issue, I'm afraid that's not going to work. And I'm hoping that there is this realization in the government, and you have some very wizened people in the government, who are going to be making this policy. So one thing is very clear, that the standard diplomacy is not going to work, which means that you have to do something which is out of the ordinary. And of course, there would be a number of options which would be there on the menu, including, for example, and this is purely speculation, because this is appearing in the Pakistani press, where they are talking about a Pakistani ISI officer who has suddenly gone missing from Nepal. Now, I don't know whether he is in Indian custody. I don't know whether there is going to be some kind of a swap eventually. Even if there is going to be a swap, it's not going to happen anytime soon. It'll probably take more than a year and a half, because this is election year in Pakistan.
So I have a full ground report on what's happening in Pakistan. We have a copy of the FIR. The FIR has been filed by the son of this ISI officer. He's accusing that the Indian intelligence agencies have picked up this ISI officer from Lumbini, 8 kilometers away from the India-Nepal border. I'll get you that report at 10:30 p.m. But I want to go across to Nalin Kohli. Nalin, you just heard from Shafkat Saeed, and I think he reflects the majority voice in Pakistan. A, they believe that no surgical strike happened. Clearly, that's no deterrence. And C, they don't seem to be taking the Modi government very seriously. They did, Uri, we responded with a surgical strike. From what Shafkat Saeed is saying, no lesson seems to have been learned.
Well, number one, as an Indian citizen, I take my government very, very seriously. And that's how I do it, irrespective of what that government is. Today, Prime Minister Narendra Modi is there. I take him even more seriously, both as a party person and as an Indian citizen. Number one. Two, I don't need some propagandist from Pakistan and across the border, his certificate. We don't need it. We don't care about it. Three, as far as I'm concerned, it's a waste of time even to engage with the gentleman on the other side, because we know what he's going to speak. It's a fixed language. It doesn't matter to us. But because he's on your show, I'm only having the courtesy of sitting, though I have no interest of engaging with him. Fourth is, with regard to whether the surgical strikes happened or not, Indian government, whoever that government is, and as we've said, today it is Prime Minister Modi's government, Parliament, it speaks in one voice. They say clearly what is happening, and we will go by that word. End of the day, where we are concerned is, in Pakistan, we know that it's a country that's almost a failed state, if not already a failed state. Their economy is in shambles. It's a place that nobody in their sane senses is going to visit or take a visa to say, let's go for tourism to Pakistan. Their own citizens are not safe. With regard to terrorism, the world knows that it's a hub of terrorism. Now we also know it's functioning like a banana republic, because in terms of signing international conventions like the Vienna Convention, they don't adhere to it. In terms of rule and law, we've seen what's happening with Kulbhushan. So therefore, does it matter to us what they are saying? What matters to us is what we will try to do. Secondly is, with regard to Pakistan, they have to understand they can't force India to the table. If the government wants to ever talk, if at all, where it wants to talk, when it wants to talk, how it wants to talk, will be part of the calibrated strategy of the government of India. It's not going to be in response to how and when and what Pakistan wants. And if Pakistan feels that hanging an Indian citizen in a sham trial is going to be that factor which is going to bring about talks, they're sadly mistaken.
There will be a response, and a mighty response, make no mistake, because the surgical strikes have shown that there will be a response at a time and place of our choosing, and that response will be unpredictable. There's no point even trying to second guess what Ajit Doval will do. But I can say with full certainty, after speaking to some officials in the security establishment, that the situation is being monitored at the highest levels 24/7 by none less than the National Security Advisor himself. And there will be some kind of follow-up action. Ajay Kumar, I want to understand from you the Congress's perspective. We saw some Congress leaders come out and say that Prime Minister Modi must pick up the phone, speak to Nawaz Sharif. Now that's very irresponsible by the opposition. At a time like this, will the opposition back the Prime Minister, allow his government to make their move, or will there be politicking taking place where the opposition tries to use this opportunity to score political brownie points?
You saw the discussion in the parliament.
Yes.
Irrespective of whichever party it is, it's very clear that whatever the government decides, and this is not an issue which can be even remotely trivialized. It's a serious issue, and whatever the government decides to make sure Mr. Kulbhushan is safe is what we are going to be with the government, and it's very, very clear those are strategic options. And any government which is in power, we have to respect the steps and support them wholly.
Now the opposition, and that's a good thing, a certain amount of bipartisan support. We saw, for example, Shashi Tharoor, Congress MP, help External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj draft the Parliament statement today, indicating in some senses that opposition and government were on one page. Jaidev Ranade is somebody who understands the spy games better than most others, a former senior officer. Without getting into the specifics of what could be planned, broadly speaking, what do you think are India's options? Because you've got an Indian national in Pakistani custody. It's a very explosive situation. They want to prosecute him. He's been convicted. What can and what should India do in your view, Mr. Ranade?
Well, I think specifics are better avoided, but let me make 2-3 points. Firstly, he's been sentenced to death, and I think there are 2 appeal stages that we have, where naturally the government of India will try and intervene, will try and get him off, will try and get him leniency, and will try and see that he's let go or freed. So that, I think, they will be their first priority. They will work, they'll do everything possible to get him back. The second thing is, I think the government of India will start working on countermeasures to show Pakistan that this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated in future, because today it has happened here, tomorrow it can happen in Afghanistan or wherever else Indian nationals are. So I think it's a serious issue. It just doesn't concern one man, it concerns a pattern of behavior in Pakistan that is now beginning to evolve, a very bad pattern of behavior.
Shafqat Saeed, I want to quote to you what your External Affairs Minister Sartaj Aziz, advisor to the Pakistani Prime Minister, told the Pakistani Senate chamber in December 2016. He says that there are mere statements by the Indian naval officer, there is no concrete evidence. The German ambassador to Pakistan, Gunter Malak, has already said that Jadhav was caught by the Taliban in Iran and sold to Pakistani intelligence. Now, how can a Pakistani military in court take a position which is at total contrast to what the Pakistani civilian establishment is saying? Once again, the civilian government and the military government and the military not talking in the same language.
I answered this question in an earlier program. I would ask you a counter question. Why did he have a passport on which his name was?
No, why don't you answer what Sartaj Aziz said? Stop asking me questions and answer the question that I'm asking you.
That why his name was not mentioned by the Prime Minister in his address to the United Nations General Assembly. Right? Once Mr. Nawaz Sharif...
No, why did Sartaj Aziz tell the Senate chamber that he didn't have evidence?
At that time, he did not... Please listen to me. You interrupt and then you expect an answer. Please carry on with your program with your own panelists or leave me. And if you want to include me in the program, please listen to me. And please have this courtesy to listen to the...
So why don't you have the courtesy to answer the question I ask you, Shafqat Saeed?
Please listen to me then. Don't interrupt me in between. Sartaj Aziz was answering a question once he was asked that why did Prime Minister did not mention Kulbhushan Jadhav in his address to the United Nations General Assembly session. And to answer that question, Sartaj Aziz said that in September, the evidence was not conclusive. And that was the reason that his name was not mentioned in the address. And this is in April that he has been punished. And since September to April, everything was finalized, all investigations were completed, and whatever was being handled by Kulbhushan Jadhav was finished.
No, but this is a total sham trial. It's in violation of Article 36. Nalin Kohli, you're a lawyer yourself. This is a total violation of Article 36 of the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations. There are multiple lapses. The trial happened in total secrecy. Even the civilian establishment, it seems, didn't know about it. More importantly, no consular access was given. We don't even know if Kulbhushan Jadhav had an advocate defending him. So there were multiple lapses. This is a violation of all international treaties, and the government in Pakistan can't say that between September 2016 and April 2017 they found enough evidence. Who knows what happened in this court trial? No one was present, nobody reported on any of it. It's a sham, Nalin.
Well, of course it's a sham. I'm calling it as far as saying it's a kangaroo court. A kangaroo court that's designed not to function by rule of law, by principles of natural justice, by what is called evidence. Because Mr. Sartaj Aziz's comment is as clinching as it can get. Second part to it is with regard to Pakistan that they are already a terrorist state in the sense that terrorists can move freely, and you can see what happens with a Lakwi or what happens with a Hafiz Saeed. They can have a house arrest, they can move around freely, the courts are absolutely powerless. But you pick up an Indian citizen and you just say, let's hang him over a trial that does not even provide counsel access. So it just tells you about the situation there. And I think this is something even the global community is not going to miss. Because Pakistan, at the end of the day, has to understand if they are not going to abide by the treaties that they sign, there's going to be a question that's logically going to be asked. Is there any point in having treaties with them if they are not even going to abide with it?
Absolutely, Nalin. Spot on. Sushant Sareen, what's the message that's being sent? Is this a message that's being sent by the Pakistani civil plus military establishment? Is this a message being sent by the new Pak Army chief who's been relatively quiet since taking over after Rahil Sharif? And, why this time? Why pick this time when there are no talks happening, the relationship is frozen in ice? Why pick this time to send such a strong message and to provoke India the way Pakistan has done?
Again, I would be speculating, but I imagine that there is a direct link between the case I just mentioned or the case which the Pakistani media is talking about the Indians having custody of ISI official, serving ISI official, I might add, and this particular case. Because when this news broke in Pakistan, within a day, the kangaroo court, which Nalin very rightly calls, had pronounced the sentence, and it is very clear that the Pakistanis, the cock and bull story that they were giving about their officer who went missing in Nepal, realized that something like this is likely to erupt in the Indian media, and they were trying to preempt it. And alongside it, because they realized that there would be this kind of a trade-off eventually, they were trying to up the ante, and they were trying to create a situation and send a message to India that look, we are not ready for this kind of a swap. But that is posturing to my mind as of now. And that is why, without even a whiff of the court-martial taking place, without any kind of information to India, suddenly out of the blue this thing was announced. The point is that when the Pakistanis, the alacrity with which they've announced this sentence does seem to suggest that there was some thinking in the Pakistani mind that they wanted to link it up and deliver a message to India about a possible bargain with this guy. Having said that, I think the kind of hype which has been created by the media core of the Pakistan Army, which is all the newspapers and all the television channels, I think they will find it difficult to back down, and eventually what they will do is, and which is the standard operating procedure in Pakistan, that they will let the civilians carry the can for any kind of a swap and stay back and, you know, act as though, they had nothing to do with it and come out smelling of roses, and the civilians will have all the muck heaped on their head. So I think that is the trajectory which is likely to be followed in the months ahead.
Okay, so Sushant Sareen clearly didn't know our plan. He's gone and brought you a lot of information which I was hoping to do. ISI officer who's been picked up from very close to the India-Nepal border. I'm going to get Lalil Kohli, I'm going to let him leave. An Pakistani ISI officer, India today has been able to access the FIR filed by his son, where it's straight out of a spy novel. An elaborate trap bringing this officer to the India-Nepal border, picking him up from there. This is what the Pakistani establishment is saying, this is what the Pakistani media is saying. And I also want to introduce at this time Colonel Ranveer Singh Chauhan. He is a friend of Kulbhushan Jadhav, knows him very intimately, and I hope to understand more about Kulbhushan Jadhav from Colonel Ranveer. When we come back from a very quick break, I'll also get you this report and examine whether, if this report is correct, that India has picked up ISI officer, then is the punishment that's been meted out to Kulbhushan Jadhav just an attempt to preempt what Pakistan thinks may happen over the next few days. That story and more. So I bring you now the story of Pakistani Lieutenant Colonel Muhammad Habib Zahir. Now he is a Pakistani artillery officer who became an ISI officer who is supposed to have been retired. He was now here's what we know. First, the Indian government saying nothing about it. The Pakistani foreign establishment has accepted that one of their ISI officers has gone missing. They're saying that enemy nations have done it. They haven't really alleged anything. But the Pakistani media has put out a whole host of details. And the story is in the Tribune, it's in the Dawn, it's on GeoTV in Pakistan. They're saying that there was an elaborate plot and that this ISI officer was drawn from Pakistan, where he apparently served as a security consultant. He was made an offer with an international firm, flown down business class, told that he could become an international security consultant, leverage his expertise in the AFPAC region, and then from there, the RAW nabbed him. Now, the Indian government is silent. They're not accepting this. They're not denying this. We don't know if this officer is in our custody, but we know that the Pakistanis are very worked up. What India today has been able to do is access from the Rawalpindi police station the FIR filed by Habib Zahir's son, where he lists out exactly what seems to have happened. Here is the story.
It's the big Indo-Pak spy thriller. The run-up to a fresh Indo-Pak face-off. Former Pakistan Army officer, Lieutenant Colonel retired Habib Mohammad Zahir goes missing from Nepal. A confirmation from the Pakistan Foreign Office, and Zahir's son, Saad Habib, files an FIR. And then comes the big Pakistani provocation. India today has accessed an explosive FIR copy. A close look at the copy shows Pakistan blames India for an alleged abduction of the ISI officer. But first, the intriguing trail of the Pakistani spy. On the 5th of April 2017, a job lure leads Zahir from Lahore to Kathmandu via Muscat. On the 5th of April, the same day, Zahir meets a certain Javed Ansari in Muscat airport, who hands him a Nepal contact. The next day, April the 6th, Zahir arrives in Kathmandu, speaks to his family and drives off by road to Lumbini. Now missing since April the 6th, Lieutenant Colonel Zahir's family alleges that he had received a job offer from a UK-based company. Now Pakistan claims that StratSolutions.biz is hosted in India with the name of Big Rock.
after he retired from the Pakistan Army. He's an ex-artillery officer who'd also worked with Pakistan's ISI. After retirement, he was working in a Pakistan Army floor mill. After that, he put his resume on the LinkedIn website and on the United Nations website. There he was contacted, and India Today has accessed the FIR, which says that he was contacted by a Mark Thomas, and the number is 0044, and it then goes on to give the details of the telephone number. And he was given a job offer of $8,500 per month for strategic solutions for firms and companies.
As a rattled Pakistan now offers India conditional consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav and an intense abduction for abduction game explodes, the big question remains, has Pakistan abducted its own officer, and is it simply now playing victim? Bureau Report, India Today.
If this is true, this is brilliant. This is what used to happen between USSR and America. This is what Israel has done. If you've pulled off this man, lured him with this trap, brought him to India, then you've got leveraged. Jaydev Ranade, as a former RAW officer, what do you make of this? Do you believe that this could be true? The Indian government hasn't said something. If this is indeed true, does it provide us with adequate leverage to say, you don't bring back our officer, this ISI officer is in trouble? How do you see this work? What do you think is happening?
Well, you know, this entire game is one of mirrors, so one can't really say what the real situation is. But as you are saying, the Pakistanis are accusing us of having picked him up. I think they would have two worries. One, that he's a former ISI officer and therefore he can spill, as they say, a lot of beans. A lot of stories, a lot of details about their structure, about what they do is going to come out if he's actually in our custody. The second thing is, if they've done it as a double bluff, it doesn't really seem to serve any purpose. But what intrigues me is what this man was doing in Lumbini. There are no major projects in Lumbini. There's nothing that requires such great security in Lumbini. So what was he doing there? And I think these are the questions that are going to come up. But as I said, if the Pakistanis feel that he's with us, and if he is with us, then I think a lot is going to come out. Whether it's publicized or not is a different matter. In comparison, Kulbhushan Jadhav, the poor chap who's been innocently abducted, picked up and abducted, I think the Pakistanis are not going to benefit at all. They are going to find
Sushant Sareen said earlier there must be an out-of-the-box response. You can't put diplomatic pressure on Pakistan and assume that there will be a response to your satisfaction. There must be, like surgical strike was out of the box, unexpected, unanticipated, bang, you got them. Do you believe that this could also be a possible out-of-the-box solution, at least some leverage against Pakistan, if at all this is true?
Rahul, are you asking me?
Yes, yes, Dr. Kumar, I am. Ajay Kumar, please.
Yeah, so Rahul, again I said, in case of Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav, the government has to use all the leverages at their disposal to ensure he's brought back. And like Mr. Ranade correctly said that why was this Pakistani colonel in Lumbini? Obviously, it is to foment trouble from across Nepal. And the strange part is, if he's been picked up in Lumbini, then why is there an FIR in Rawalpindi? So, obviously, those questions are, the Pakistanis are very much aware of the colonel's activities in on the Indo-Nepal border. And if it is something, if he's in our custody, then it's is obviously a huge leverage which we should be able to use. But one thing which is very concerning, Rahul, is the Pakistan's methodology of dealing with Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav. They went across what's in the public domain is they believe that the Taliban actually handed over to the Pakistani authorities. So this kind of even in any responsible government indulging in this kind of activity. We have lots of people from India working in Afghanistan in developmental projects, and this kind of behavior from a nation which claims from a country which is a member of the United Nations is not only shameful but really very disturbing. And we need to be very careful because
Sushant Sareen, you spoke of an out-of-the-box solution as somebody who, you know, has probably read a lot of spy novels growing up. If this is true and if Ajit Doval has pulled this off, this is fantastic. You've lured him, the kids, the son's FIR is the kind of thing that you assume, you know, you're reading in a spy novel. You don't assume it's happening in real life. This would be quite a coup if we've actually done it.
No, no, see, it sounds very nice and sexy that this kind of a story has come, but this is the Pakistani cover story.
Correct.
I think we should be very clear about that. To my mind, this is a Pakistani story and it's a cover story. It may or may not be the actual story. It is entirely possible that this ISI fellow has actually been caught by India, if at all he is in Indian custody somewhere else. And this kind of a cock and bull story, you would remember, was also given by the media corps of the Pakistan Army, which is all the television channels, at the time of 26/11, when they suddenly trotted this lawyer out who said, you know, Ajmal Kasab was this salesman in Kathmandu or some place who was abducted by the RNAW and then kept in custody to be trotted out when 26/11, which was an RNAW conspiracy itself, was carried out. So we've heard these cock and bull stories from the Pakistanis plenty of times. Number one. Number two, the Indian problem is going to be that how do you declare this fellow? Because see, unlike the Pakistanis who have all sorts of kangaroo courts, even the normal courts are more or less kangaroo courts, in India you have a proper legal system. Now if you were to actually, if you have this guy in custody and actually were to declare him, then you would go through the normal legal processes, not through the kind of summary trials and the sham trials which the Pakistanis do, which creates a dilemma for you that how do you declare him and then go through the normal channels, because you can't then do the tit for tat. So it is quite possible that you just keep quiet about it and both the intelligence organizations or the establishments discuss this matter on the back channel with each other and try to find some kind of
okay, I want to go across now to Colonel Tanveer Singh Chauhan. As somebody who knows Kulbhushan Jadhav, what are your impressions of the man? I know that WhatsApp groups, his course-mates in the Navy, those he served with the tri-services, have all been activated. They've all been very concerned since this announcement was made. They were worried even earlier. Now they're very concerned about the family's welfare. Can you give us a sense of the man you knew?
Yeah, let me first clarify that I share a lot of common friends with Jadhav. Jadhav was an ex-NDA from the Charlie Squadron of 77th Course, and I have my seniors from that course, and so are my parallel course-mates from the NDA. So we share a lot of common friends nominal role, and since the time this story has come up, we have been exchanging notes and trying to figure out. So one thing is very, very clear is that he had no intelligence background, as what you have been talking about, that Pakistani colonel who had served in the ISI. This individual was a normal Indian Navy officer, highly competent, very professional naval officer who had no inclination or aptitude or anything of that nature so as to become a spy in his second innings. So this is absolutely absurd what has come out in the open from the Pakistan side, and everybody in the fraternity of the armed forces is quite shocked as to how can a simple man be charged and taken up as a terrorist in that country.
What do you know? What do you, friends, family members know about what he was doing in Iran, how he ended up close to the Iran-Pakistan border, how he ended up in Pakistani custody, why he had a passport which wasn't his own?
So after having served in the Navy, he joined a marine company, and he was partnering that company with somebody in Iran. And as we all know that we are helping the Iranians develop Chabahar port, so he was carrying out his normal business. How he has reached there, I think the German envoy's statement makes it very clear that he has been abducted by the Taliban and sold to the Pakistan military. And if you remember, the day the story broke, the Iranians confirmed that yes, this individual from India was carrying out legitimate business in Iran. So this is how it is, and he has been picked up. Now the thing is coming up that he was carrying his passport. So very simply, if he was carrying his passport, he won't carry his passport on a spy mission into the enemy territory. He would keep his passport somewhere safe in his safe zone and then move out to carry out that activity. So the fact of the matter that he has been caught with a passport, I think it debunks the whole story, the whole drama which they have set. That he was carrying out some subversive activity in that country.
Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Colonel Tanveer Singh Chand, no spy with any brains, and spies are very intelligent people, would be roaming around with an Indian passport. Who knows whether Pakistan just planted that passport on him much later after this Indian businessman was picked up from Iran. There are multiple wheels, as Jaydev Ranade says, it's a game of mirrors. But what you can be very certain of is that we're not sitting back and allowing Pakistan to dictate the pace. This is a game where multiple maneuvers are on behind the scenes, and as the Indian government has on record said, they will do what it takes to bring Kulbhushan Jadhav back. America would do the same, China would do the same, Israel would do the same, India too must do exactly the same. He is our man, our boy, we can't let him die. Dr. Ajay Kumar, Sushant Sareen, Jaydev Ranade, Nalin Kohli and Colonel Tanveer Chauhan for joining me on the newsroom tonight. Thank you, gentlemen. This is a story we'll keep tracking very closely. We're slipping into a break. We'll have more news for you when we come back on the other side. Stay with us.